But many restrictions now for the age, time, gone out. And that is good or bad, it will can tell future. Now present we can say it is very bad or very good. Before many restrictions was in our sampradaya, now not. Before they not allowed Western devotee in the temple of Krishna. Now everybody going. Then age keep progressing some other way, proceeding other way. And it's also will of Krishna. Then we must tolerate that. Not only tolerate, we must give some honor there. Otherwise, what shall we do? We like to worship Giriraj very happily.
He especially likes the milk, cow's milk.
Yes, cow milk.
Is it good to use cow's milk every day in the puja then?
Yes, they are giving. And in our mosque, there every day if you put some cow milk to Giriraj's head, Giriraj will be more happy, I think.
More happy.
I think so.
So we can do like that.
Yes, you have cows.
Yeah.
Then you can.
They are not giving milk. We get milk from outside.
And we are also giving in Navadvip mosque. We are also giving sometimes cow milk to Giriraj's head. And time to time, I think it is very good for worshipping. Panchamrita?
Yes. On special days.
Special day, we are worshipping with Panchamrita and Panchagobbo. Special worshipping. Abhishek. We are doing Abhishek. Panchamrita and Panchagobbo. That is very good.
I have a question, Maharaj. In the past, Vaishnavas, they used to live a very simple life. And when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was using motor car, that was a very big surprise to everybody. How is this? But now it's much later than Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So nowadays, the environmentalists in the world, they are discovering the damaging influence of using motor car, using plastic, using so many chemistry all over. So there's a big consciousness arising all around the world that actually these things should not be used unless like an emergency or something. They're becoming very much aware of that. So now, sometimes by giving class, somebody asked us, well, you are supposed not to do those things by your culture, but you are using anyway. You're using plastics, you're using motor car, whatever you can do. Is there maybe, as time will increase, as this awareness increases worldwide, that actually one has to curb those activities, and also the Vaishnavas have to return to that simple way of life they originally believed in? Maybe that will be required for them in order to, that people can believe in them.
That is, Indriyani asanjamya, karmendriyani nasanjamya. Jaste Manashasaram. Indriyathan Vimudhatma Mithyajar Saranchati. This answer in Gita. Indriyani asanjamya jaste Manashasaram. Indriyathan Vimudhatma Mithyajar Saranchati. Mane outlooking very good, but inside going some dirtiness, always thinking. That better than that, this thing. If they can follow properly Rup Sanatan, Jitagna, that is best thing, not only. For preaching also. But if they cannot follow that, and only showing inside going other thing, that is not real bhakti yoga or real practitioner's life. That is called Babaji. Why Saraswati Thakur and not give Babaji dress? Only few, two and all one maybe. Babaji dress. And why not given? That is very hard, that taking that dress. They cannot follow Rup Sanatan, but they will take the dress of Babaji and will do some aparad, offense to Rup Sanatan. That is, he is not giving that. And other way, he is teaching this way, that is Balanshatana. If I am telling sometimes joking way, everything belongs to Krishna, then this pillow cover I shall take for the service of Krishna. It's also true if he can do with wholeheartedly and full surrender mood. If he can do, he has right to do that, actually. But he cannot do what he is telling by mouth, he cannot do that. After a few times, you will see he is doing another. He is behaving another thing. And there is an objection. Before what he had done, that is also like this. But Paramahansa Dharma is like that. 24 hours he will engage for the service to Guru Vaishnava. And anything need for that, he will do that. That is Paramahansa Dharma. And Saraswati Thakur teach us that way. You can use the motor car or you can use the wristwatch. But if it is for the service to Guru Vaishnava, then it is okay. Otherwise, every hire is some, what equivalent, reaction. And that reaction coming. We are looking at reaction coming. We are not all perfect. There are also reactions, many reactions come. We are telling Babajis are not perfect. It is true. But we are not also perfect that way. Then we must follow the perfect process. What told Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but teach by Saraswati Thakur. We are also not following that perfect line. And we are getting trouble. Swami Maharaj gave very enthusiastically. And he gave, oh, sannyas, take your sannyas. You are Amuk Maharaj, you are Tamuk Maharaj, you are Han Maharaj, Talmada, all is Goswami. Swami Maharaj wants to
Pause
grow.
a minute, because Gurudev's discussing some very fine points here, and I'm not sure everybody will be following. First of all, last week we mentioned that if anyone's not sure of a particular word, you can write it in the chat, if you would like, But there were a few words, Babaji's, a couple of you maybe aren't familiar with. Babaji's referred to persons who live independent of any type of societal or religious conventions. And they live lives of extreme austerity, utterly renounced from the world and absorbed in a solitary way in their devotional practice and connection with the Lord. And so this question, what's his name, Paramadwaiti Maharaj is asking, he's saying, that these who are known as the six Goswamis, right? Rup, Sanatan, Raguna, Jiva, etc. They lived like that. They lived as genuine Babajis, fully renounced from the world, living lives of extreme simplicity. And then he's asking this question. Nowadays, the age of technology, there's so much, we're suffering the reactions, right, of mundane technology and exploitation and all these things. And, but the way that the Babajis live and the way that Rup and Sanatan, who are our great gurus, lived, maybe we need to go back to that way of life, right? And actually the question is not a proper question, from the real standpoint of Vaishnavism. And I'm not criticizing the person asking. Maybe he's asking for the sake of others, right? But because from the viewpoint of Vaishnavism, whether you're living a life of extreme enjoyment or whether you're living a life of renunciation, if there's no connection with Krishna, it's two sides of the same coin, and we're not interested in either. We're not interested in enjoyment or renunciation. They're the same. We're only interested in service. And so then Gurudev uses this term, Paramahamsa Dharma, right? Paramahamsa Dharma is referring to that spirit of connecting everything with divinity, connecting everything with Krishna. So whether you're living a life of simplicity or you're living an opulent life full of the enjoyable things of this world, it's the same if you're doing it in service to Krishna. And this was the principle of Saraswati Thakur. And this is what Gurudev is explaining. But what I really appreciate about Gurudev's answer, and I feel like it's classic Gurudev, because like if somebody asked me that question, I would have just kind of smashed them, like, like what I said, this isn't a proper question, where it's all part of the mundane mud. We're interested in Krishna's service. We're not interested in being rich or poor. We're not interested in beauty, being beautiful or being ugly. But what is useful for the service of Krishna? This is our principle, right? That's how I would have answered in a very direct way. But I love the way Gurudev answers. I feel like it's really Gurudev's style. He does in the beginning, he actually kind of sidesteps the question. And I've watched this before and it really impressed me because the way he answers first is he says, it's also bringing up another interesting point. He's quoting this verse from Bhagavad Gita saying that I'll read it. I have it open here. One who externally restrains their hands, legs, and other senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects is a fool. Know him to be a hypocrite. So Gurudev's saying, it's such a wonderful way to answer. He's saying, if you can genuinely and authentically live a life of simplicity, then that's wonderful. But if you're artificially imitating that in your heart, you're holding so much attachment, then it's worthless. You're just a hypocrite. It's just such a brilliant, I feel like I could just write a whole essay about what a brilliant answer it is, because he's kind of very subtly kind of smashing, that the standpoint where the question came from. He's doing it in a very clever and subtle way. If you can genuinely do that, If you can be genuinely detached and renounced from the world, then that's a wonderful thing. And then what Gurudev's also doing here is he's bringing everything to the plane of consciousness, right? Because that's where existence really is, in the plane of consciousness. It's not about the gross physical world, but where is the consciousness behind? So we're not interested so much in these things and that's things and these happenings and that happening, but what's the consciousness behind? That's a spiritual perspective. So Gurudev's answer is just so brilliant on so many levels, you know. That yes, if you and he's like kind of like sidestepping the issues of the fact that, you know, it's not a Vaishnava consideration, you know, like the environmental problems of the world. This is not the consideration of Krishna consciousness. You know, as Srila Maharaj says, so many planets will come and go, so many suns and moons will come and go. You know, World War III, you know, let it be. You know, the whole universe will be devastated and created again and again. We have to learn to live within eternity, right? That is the real spiritual perspective. So anyway, just wanted to give some discussion on that if it wasn't clear to everyone. Does anyone else want to add any further thoughts before we continue?
What also I like about this is that Gurudev also mentions that if it's for preaching, it's okay. So in California, there's a lot of environmentalists, there's a lot of that type of movement. And even like the prasadam we serve, like before vegetarian used to be, you know, very revolutionary. And now it's old school. And now there's vegans, there's gluten-free people, all this stuff. And there's people at the temple who are like, vegan, no, you know, Krishna likes cows, we must use milk and stuff like that. But we want to attract people to Krishna consciousness. And so now we want to make vegan preparations. We want to make gluten-free preparations. You know, we want to use compostable cups. We want to use compostable plates, stuff like that. So yes, environmentalism is good if it is promoting Krishna consciousness. You know, so if we use these things and that helps us preach, then that is very good.
Yes, and I mean, I also believe it's good just to try and live in harmony with our environment, right? You know, it's good to not be, you know, filling up the world with unnecessary waste. I think, you know, but like as a background concern, right? You know, like in general, we're trying to live as harmoniously as possible, but it's not going to become a, you know, like a preaching point or like the main, it's not going to be the agenda, right? But as something in the background, right? We do our recycling and so on and so forth, right? So, yeah. But yes, it's true that it can also be a hook.
Right, we want to attract people, and this is a way we can attract people.
Free vegetarian, free vegan, love feast. Swami Maharaj Prabhupada would say love feast. They would advertise like that.
But as you're mentioning, that it's just everything's in consciousness. If we're using it for the service of Krishna, then it is okay.
Vishaka Didi, so many devotees came to Krishna because of prasadam. So many. I've heard so many stories, wonderful stories.
It's described as the secret weapon, right? Any other comments, or should we continue? And welcome others who've joined us, Gangalila, Bhagavan Prabhu, and Dana.
Some disorderliness. But after breaking that, what he is making, that's also disorder. We are looking it. But we cannot say it is wrong. Actually, what he wants to do, that he has done. That is spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. If he will not give sannyas to that very few strong person, they will not preach there. You will not see in London Bhakti Vedanta manner. Now they are Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, very big institution, spreading Krishna consciousness from there. Everybody hearing Krishna is Lord, Supreme Lord, everybody hearing Hare Krishna Mahamantra. His work he have done through someone like Jayatirtha. Jayatirtha can go other way, but his work not stop. Like that, many of us used by Swami Maharaj, by Guru Maharaj. And many of them may fall down. But work is not stopped. What is work? Spreading Krishna consciousness. That is still running. And that is necessary. When you will fight, then many soldiers must be dying. On the other side, all will die, and your side, all will live. Not possible. Some must be dying. That is the result of war. And you must tolerate that. But for the victory, you must sacrifice. And they have also hope. Srimad Bhagavad Gita said, Nahi kalyanakrit kaschit durgaling tata gachit. Suchirang srimudangehi yoga bhrasto vijayate. They have also chance. They will take new path. And from there, they will start, not from primary section, they will start from yes, that from that. And they have also difficulty. They will get chance if they will not make much Vaishnava. Vaishnava can destroy everything. Otherwise, nothing can destroy. Bhakti is like that.
Vincenandini can't see the subtitles anymore. Did you do something to the, okay, now I see them. They've been going up and down.
We did like full screen or something like that. I don't know, but then it shifted all the subtitles down.
Yes, because I can't do anything in my screen. So you were checking the chat, right?
Yeah.
Because if I go to check the chat, then the subtitles, I lose them. Okay.
Oh,
But his heart, what is in his heart, that's not his destroyed. That is separate.
Sometimes in dealings with devotees,
Maybe we
say
should stop
in the position
actually
of
before we get to this.
authority, you must chastise someone.
Just because I like to comment on that particular aspect, because Gurudev mentions it often, this like the soldiers in a war, some will fall. And, relating to like some devotees who come to Krishna consciousness and maybe they fall away or something else happens and they're no longer practicing. Which is a very adept analogy because, we are kind of in a war with Maya. We're in a battle with Maya and we want victory. So I think it's a very nice description that he gives. And also the fact that like these great personalities, divine personalities, in fact, all of us are instruments of the Lord. We are being used in the Lord in a particular way. And he even gives the extreme example of Jayatirtha Maharaj, who he had much affection for, but he definitely took another path. But still, the work that he was trying to do to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, that is continuing.
very nice. Chinmoy Prabhu. And I'll just add to that, if some of you weren't catching the context that Gurudev started off, I'm not sure if it was someone initiated the subject, but Gurudev was saying how Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, well, he was linking from the previous discussion, how Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he, in some ways, he was a little bit random in how he like appointed many leaders who weren't necessarily so qualified. And some of them, they didn't maintain their vows, they couldn't maintain their position as sannyasis. But Gurudev's saying, like, it's a battlefield, and he's acting according to the needs of the moment. And although those persons couldn't maintain that position, maybe they weren't qualified even for it in the first place, but they were needed for a particular duty, they were needed for a particular service at the time. And then he's saying also that, and even if they leave, it will be temporary, but what is in their heart, it will remain, and later they will pick it up again. And I think he also quoted Nahi Kalyana Krit there, right? This famous Bhagavad Gita verse, which Srila Maharaj renders as, one who is sincere will never be defeated. They may have some temporary, fall down or deviation, but if they have real sincerity in the heart, then they will again come to the right path. So it is not hopeless. And as Chinmoy said, though, that analogy of the battlefield is wonderful. Some people there's a war going on. Some people are going to die. Some people are going to be wounded. There's a place, Srila Maharaj, he also discusses that analogy. And he says also, some may go mad. It is to be expected, right? But if you died in the good fight, right? There's no loss. It's win-win ultimately.
And he says, do you want to win without losing anybody? That's impossible. You want to win, and all the soldiers there. And
right.
another thing he says, I think he said, Guru Maharaj and Swami Maharaj, they used us. Didn't he say this? We were used by them. This is so nice. He includes himself.
Radhana Rupini, you want to say something?
I remember hearing that there was always discussions about, when I was younger, between my godbrothers and myself and god sisters, about all the sannyasis that were created, and so I have it on. Can you lower that? They can hear everything. Thank you. It's my husband. Anyway, I heard that that the reason why there were all these sannyasis created, and because of the urgency that Swami Maharaj, or I call him Srila Prabhupada, felt. He understood he already had heart attacks on the Jaladuta. He had health issues. He was of an older age, but he had the urgency that he felt to spread it, to serve his spiritual master, and to do for that he did everything and anything to spread Krishna consciousness. So that's one thing I heard, because we also wondered about so many sannyasis being created, and some of them didn't even stay. And then we also, another thing was that, we were told that, whatever you do in your devotional life, whatever advancement you make in your devotional life, if somehow or another you fall down in this life and leave your spiritual life or take a vacation for a while, or some people have done that, when you come back, you pick up exactly where you left off. It's never to waste. It's never wasted. Whatever advancement you make, even if it's this much, you won't lose it. And if you have to come back in the next life again, you just pick up from where you left off and you keep on progressing. That's what I heard. So that's the beauty of this path. It's very forgiving.
Beautiful. Thank you, Radhana Rupini.
I'll make one more comment, because Srila Prabhupada's mood, Gurudev would describe it as like he was desperate to spread Krishna consciousness, meaning he had intense enthusiasm and desire to spread it. And the actual Bengali word they use is something like dampite. And if you put that into Google Translate, it comes out as daredevil. I really like that idea. Srila Prabhupada is a daredevil, doing the impossible, seeing something, saying, I'm going to try that. I'm going to do that. And he did. So incredible.
Very nice. I'll just add one other thing too to that. Gurudev made one point. I don't remember his exact words, but it was the same idea, which is said about Srila Saraswati Thakur, that he did everything in an unconventional, or even what some may say is a wrong way, but he was successful in spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. So, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives the analogy of Napoleon, who applied a different battle strategy and started winning the war in the Austro-Hungarian War. And then it was said about him, oh, he doesn't know how to fight properly, Oh, and that's why he's winning, because he doesn't know how to fight properly, So like whatever methods he used, they were the right ones, right? Because he was successful in spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world, and in such a short space of time, in such a huge scale, so he knew what he was doing. Anyone have any questions maybe at this point, or further comments? Okay, Dana, how are you? Are you getting lost with terms and names, or you're following everything so far, more or less?
I'm doing the best I can. I am. You guys are really helping by explaining things and everything. So I'm trying. But thank you so much. I love it. I'm so glad that we're doing this.
Yeah, even if you can't follow everything perfectly, just like having Gurudev's darshan is so powerful, and hearing his vibration and seeing his form. But if there's anything particular you'd like to be explained, you can ask, you can put it in the chat, or you can speak up. Don't be shy.
Thank you so much. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
One of the main points of this is to make Srila Govinda Maharaj more accessible, so please don't be shy about that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's watch a few more minutes.
You find some problem, but it gives you a lot of pain in the heart to deal with this. They may take some offense, but it is necessary in the service. That is not aparad, but still there is some pain and some reaction.
Govindanji, maybe you can go back a minute or two, because we got sidetracked. Just to do, he's asking a question.
Maybe he fall down, but his heart, what is in his heart, that's not his destroyed. That is separate.
Sometimes in dealings with devotees, say in a position of authority, you must chastise someone, or you find some problem, but it gives you a lot of pain in the heart to deal with this. They may take some offense, but it is necessary in the service. That is not aparad, but still there is some pain and some reaction.
Yes. Loving search for the lost son. Like that. Loving search for the lost son. Loving search and loving chastisement. It's same. If chastisement is loving, then no problem. And I teach it very nicely. I learned it very nicely from Guru Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj chastised me with both hands. Beating. That time I was 17, 18 years old. 20 years old. With both hands, Guru Maharaj beating me. That's also chastisement, but that is loving chastisement.
What have you done?
Huh?
What have you done?
I
Catching you.
Oh, one day I can say, Something happened, I cannot that remember, but everybody telling me you take prasadam. And I am not taking prasadam. I am cooking for all in Vrindavan, that is in Mathura, 1000 sadhus. Guru Maharaj has many higher god brother, 5, 6 god brother and other brahmachari, maybe 17, 18% we are there. And I was cook. I am cooking for all and I distributed the prasadam for all. And something happened, I cannot remember that. Maybe something wrong I have done. And Guru Maharaj chastised me first, by mouth, by words chastised me. And I was angry. I have done much work and Guru Maharaj chastised me. Then I shall not take prasadam today. And when I come after taking bath taking, then Guru Maharaj, you took prasadam? I told, no, I shall not take prasadam. Then Guru Maharaj said, you must take prasadam. And I said, I do not take Then Guru Maharaj got by the Jajwal Maharaj. He said, Govinda Maharaj, and then Guru Maharaj knows me, then Guru Maharaj not told much again. And he ended Jajwal Maharaj, you tell. He have respect for you, you tell. Then Jajwal Maharaj said, Govinda Maharaj, you take prasadam. I don't know, I shall not take prasadam. Then Parvat Maharaj was there. And Parvat Maharaj liked me very much. And he is thinking, if he will say, then I shall take. Then he told, oh Govinda Maharaj, come, Govinda, not that time my name was Gaurendra. Gaurendra Brahmachari. I Gaurendra, take prasadam, take prasadam. Ah, nothing. Oh, Guru Maharaj told something. Oh, it is nothing. That way. And I told, no, I shall not take prasadam. Then many of God brothers told, you must take prasadam, you are a very good one like that. But I not took prasadam. Then one brahmachari comes and he bought me from my village in the line of Krishna consciousness. He bought me. His name was Narsingh Brahmachari. And he
Is it alive?
Yes.
Narsingh Brahmachari?
Narsingh Brahmachari, he is now Narsingh Maharaj.
Nice.
He is living in Puri.
Acha.
And he told, oh Gaurendu, you come and take prasadam, and he took me. And I have some respect other way with him, but not like everybody. Guru Maharaj and his same rank Maharaj, like my affectionate father. Then I ignored. But that brahmachari is not my father rank. He was my elder brother's rank. And I have some respect special. And I am thinking he will abuse me or something. He cannot understand my mind. Then I gone and took prasadam. And Guru Maharaj very angry. All the Maharaj told you not to prasadam. That brahmachari told him, come. And I gone to Guru Maharaj and he beaten. Why you have done it? And when Guru Maharaj is beating me, I am thinking, everybody beating by one hand and taking other hand. And Guru Maharaj is not taking me but beating. And I am going front, more front to Guru Maharaj. And after 3-4 times beating, Guru Maharaj said, why you are coming to me? You run out. I said, no, you beat me. Yes. And Guru Maharaj, I am thinking Guru Maharaj do not know how to beat. Like my childhood, I took big, many, each and every day beating. My school teacher every day beating me. Then how to beat I know. But Guru Maharaj both hands. This way, this way.
That time,
Guru Maharaj doesn't know how to beat.
what is your age that time?
Maybe 19,
Oh, just
19, like.
After coming back.
Yes, yes.
For five.
My fault, I took prasadam by his order, and he can remember now also.
Which temple he is in?
In Puri.
Which month?
You have not. I have not seen his mark. I heard one mark in Puri. I have not going there. I am not going there. But not gone, that is cause there. Mane, later they gave many trouble to Guru Maharaj. 3 or 4 brahmacharis gave very trouble to Guru Maharaj. One Bhutavid brahmachari, one Nishananda brahmachari, and one Ananda brahmachari, and that brahmachari. That is, I am not going there. He is also qualified. But he is telling I am disciple of Prabhupada, but he is not disciple of Prabhupada. He is disciple of Bhakti Prabhupada. That's telling lie. Many of brahmachari in the time of Prabhupada also, I do not want to name, that is not good to tell name. They are telling what is this? They are in the line of Prabhupada. That is enough, I am thinking. But sometimes they are telling lie. He is not a disciple of Prabhupada, he is disciple of Bhakti Prabhupada. Maybe Harinam he get from Prabhupada, but Diksha from Prabhupada. It is 100% sure. That is, he wants to take this Diksha from Guru Maharaj. But now telling everybody I am disciple of Prabhupada. Then Prasad is ready. Go now, please. Oh, you are so much. Jai Guru Maharaj. You don't take my offenses.
Jai.
That's one of like the sweetest stories of Gurudev, isn't it? Chinmoy, were you going to say something?
Well, I just, because this video show me that in India, there's a difference between Harinam and Diksha initiation. And it seems like what Gurudev's talking about is that if you take Harinam, it's not necessarily that is coming from your guru, but Diksha, whoever you take Diksha is your guru, which would be second initiation for us. That's my understanding.
Well, you see, what it is really is that the conventions are changing, because previously there wouldn't have been an initiation for the Maha Mantra, actually. So it's very, very new. I think it began with Srila Saraswati Thakur having a formal initiation, giving of the Maha Mantra, what we call first initiation now. But previously, Diksha initiation, it was only done with the Gayatri mantras. So yeah, it all gets a little complicated. Yeah, gets a little complicated. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say, because the conventions are changing, and Srila Maharaj also discusses in Sri Guru and His Grace that actually you can get everything through the Maha Mantra, right? That you don't even necessarily need to take second initiation. So there's also a consideration of just what's formality too, right? So yeah, I don't really know what the proper answer is to that question. Yeah. Bhagavan Prabhu, very nice to see you. Dhanavad. It's been a long time.
Very nice to hear from you. Very happy to hear from you.
You know, it's very sweet that story with Gurudev. And you know, it's actually I recently experienced, it's very true, because I heard this story from Gurudev a while ago, but I recently experienced, it's very true that there's somehow like there's a difference between the respect you have for a father figure as opposed to like an older brother. And it is harder to say no to someone who's like they're not as senior, but they're kind of closer to you and they can beat you, you know, and it's like, it's very funny. It's very true, you know, and very, very charming. Gurudev, you know, when Srila Maharaj is beating him, you know, he doesn't know how to beat. So Gurudev's coming closer, you know, so he can vent it out. Very, very charming. Well,
And Vasudev Prabhu, Vasudev is Srila Saraswati Thakur's god brother?
No, he's referring to Ananta Vasudev. You know Ananta Vasudev. He later became who did he became what was his, actually I don't think we know his sannyas name because he kind of went on another track. But remember Kunja Babu and Ananta Vasudev, right? They were the two right hands of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Kunja Babu became Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj after Saraswati Thakur left. And Ananta Vasudev also took sannyas and made his own mission, but we don't hear his sannyas name because he like kind of deviated. So yeah. But he's saying, you know, how, but I put in the chat for those who may be confused. Originally, Prabhupada referred to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then later the disciples of Srila Swami Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, they also adopted that and referred to him as Prabhupada. So it gets a little confusing, but Gurudev generally, when he said Prabhupada, not always, but generally he's referring to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So he's making that point that sometimes people would kind of use that for their own prestige, you know, and say, oh, I'm a disciple. Anyway, anyone want to add any final comments before we close? Suvasini Didi, you've been very quiet today. Always very happy to hear from you.
No, there is nothing to add, Didi. It's all beautiful. Yeah, wonderful to have Gurudev's darshan. Beautiful. No.
I really love these like intimate like moments with Gurudev when he's just like, it's not like a formal talk and he's just kind of like relaxed and naturally speaking with the devotees. It's so special. Chinmoy Prabhu or Govind Nandini, any last words? Or
no, it's witness from the, I don't know what sweetness is, but from what I can understand, from beginning to the end, it's sweetness. The way he ends the meeting and everything is really incredible.
Yeah, charm and affection was his secret weapon. Not so secret, actually. It's pretty obvious. But
what did you say? You said love and affection.
Charm and affection. Charm and affection was his not so secret weapon.
Bhagavan Prabhu, anything you want to share?
No, I might have been hearing, you know, they say that like that's a very natural weapon from Srila Govinda Maharaj. You know, he was a very, and the way he speaks, that's a very natural devotional way. You know, it's a very soft and lovely, and to hear from you is like I'm receiving Srila Govinda Maharaj. It's an honor always to hear from you people, because always when I hear from you, I receive Srila Govinda Maharaj from you people. Nice to hear from you. These are not the devotees. But that was like a very special. Always when you hear from Srila Govinda Maharaj, you can hear how naturally he speaks the devotional life. You know, this inside of him. That's his nature. That's very, only pure devotee can speak like that. You know, it's very rare to find people who speak in that way. It's, you feel happy when you hear the Srila Govinda Maharaj talking, because he's always talking the natural and devotional way, very pure way. It's lovely way to hear.
Very, very beautifully expressed. Yes, he was never, like posing or like giving like I'm giving a lecture now, but it's just pouring out of him in every movement and every word in the sweetest and most natural way. Yeah. Anyone have any questions? Those who are less familiar with the terminology, Ananda Krishna or Gangalila, Dana, Steve. Okay, we can close on, I guess. Beautiful meeting, beautiful gathering, and our gratitude especially to Chinmoy Prabhu for doing this seva, going through so many archives for years now. Prabhu's been working on this, uploading them and subtitles, and it's just so wonderful, so wonderful.
I have a question, Didi.
Chintamani Dandavat.
Dandavats. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yeah,
I'm at work.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I had shown this video or part of it before to somebody who was not official, not more of a newcomer, and they were very upset about the idea of like beating, like a guru beating another person. They were like, I'm not good with that. And they were like, I don't need that, in my life, that energy, that vibe, like that y'all are not my people, or I don't remember how it went down, and I don't remember who it was, but it was just like some time ago. It was some time ago. So I just wanted to hear any reflections, because, like in sharing our lineage, our wonderful treasure teachers here, the people's projection, and then they have their opinion, and then they go, run with that or whatever, so just wanted to share that, and if you had any reflections about that concept, because I know my sort of thing is, I'm like, oh yes, Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, like this is his shiksha line, because he said some things that, I was talking with another devotee about some of the controversial things, like women like rape, and women are less intelligent, and all this stuff that are like written in the books, right? That so it's lunchtime for the horses. They're letting me know, so I'm gonna go on mute and just hear what you have to say.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Chintamani. Chinmoy Prabhu, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, for me, it's not so much the story, it's the mood that's coming through. So if people can't recognize that, I just say that's unfortunate, because what he's giving, that affection, that mood of charm, ecstasy that's flowing out of him through the story, that's more important than the actual story. I mean, the story is wonderful too, only because the way he's telling it, his own personality is coming through that story. So if we can recognize that, then we're very fortunate that we can see that. And if you can't, then it's unfortunate. Maybe at some other point you'll be able to recognize it. I don't know what else to say, but we can also just say it's a cultural thing. I mean, at that time in India, that was completely normal, that type of behavior. So what are you gonna do? If you're gonna focus on, somebody's gonna focus on one fault, or what they consider to be a fault, we just have to pray that they'll get the mercy at some point.
Thank you, Chinmoy Prabhu. Very nice. I'll add to that well, first of all, I don't think it was like real beating. I mean, from what Gurudev is saying, it was some like, and I've also heard Gurudev telling this pastime in another occasion. He's like kind of like hitting him on his chest, like this, like. But also Gurudev didn't approve of heavy beating, and Gurudev actually complained about like at school, and even his mother. I don't know if you want to get into that, but he complained many times about how his mother and teachers at school, like a lot of the time he would skip school because of the beating. He would be afraid to go to school, and he'd climb up into a tree. Just because he was so afraid of being beaten by the teachers. So Gurudev also didn't approve of heavy beating. But I do believe there is a place for it if it's not, super violent and it's coming from a place of affection. And I think Chintamani touched on this, that, one of the problems is that we live in a world of exploitation. And so that can kind of create a filter when we hear about these types of pastimes, because we project our own experience. Think about it. Krishna kills a lot of demons, right? There's a lot of violence in Krishna Leela, if you think about it. Are we gonna take him to the politically correct court of law? So, one thing, it's kind of like when we're going to hear about Leela of the Lord and the devotees, we want to leave our mundane preconceptions and prejudices at the door and try to hear with the mood of faith, what's the fundamental understanding? God, as we were discussing in a recent meeting, Bhagavan Mango Moy, God is good, or as Gurudev liked in the dollar bill, in God we trust, right? So if that's like the premise of everything, then we're happy to believe everything and have faith in what we're hearing, because we believe God is good. So rather than try to change God or change the Vaishnava saints to suit our limited idea, we want to try to change our idea so we can accommodate that higher world, and that can be challenging. But we're trying to live in that world of faith. Then Chintamani, also, you brought up a few things here. You also brought up some of the comments of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. That's another discussion. I don't know if we want to have it here now. I wouldn't put those things in the same category, but maybe we'll save that for another time. Radhana Rupini wants to say something.
I'm sorry, I just can't help myself. What I wanted to address Chintamani on those comments was, yeah, they're very disturbing comments that women like rape, that is very disturbing, and that women are less intelligent. Yeah, that was very difficult for me when I was 21 and 15 years. I became a devotee when I was 15 years old. So that was very disturbing. But, when we think about it, the era that Swami Maharaj came from, and was another era where women weren't heard all over the world, not just in England, not just in India. In fact, I just recently learned that Queen Elizabeth, the one that just passed away, she never really got a formal education. Her education was, she never learned math or reading. She learned how to read and stuff, but they only were drilling her on the laws of the state because they knew she was going to be the next queen, But other than that, she felt really, when she was with other heads of parliament and stuff, she felt like she wasn't educated enough. So when she became queen, she asked for a tutor and got educated in more history and different things that she never got. So all over the world, it was like that for women. In America, in England, in India, we were seen as secondary citizens, not good enough kind of people. So in that way, you also have to see that when Srila Prabhupada came to the West, or A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami came to the West, you also have to see what he did for women. He allowed women in the temples. He gave us the Gayatri mantra. He allowed us on the altar. You know, that was very revolutionary, because that wasn't happening in India. And he opened the gates for that too. So like with everything now, you know, now things are changing more. And I hear, you know, there's just partnerships and different marriages now are being accepted and stuff like that, because we have to evolve with the way the world is, you know, and still try to make people Krishna conscious. And the rape, you have to look that up, because it's not the same meaning as it is today, where you're violently raped and stuff. That is, it was a whole different meaning. Yeah, but it's rough. It's a rough thing. I have a hard time too with that and explaining that to people, you know. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Radhanupini. And since we did end up getting into the discussion, I'll just add, you know, following on with that first point you were making about like the cultural side of things, you know, David Shish Prabhu told me about when there's an article of Bhaktivinoda Thakur where he makes this point that he says, like, due to a Vaishnava's particular environment and upbringing, they may have some relative conceptions on certain things, you know? and you know, that they may voice opinions at times which aren't fully in line with the absolute truth, simply because of their cultural upbringing. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you know, so if I ever say anything like that, you know, you can overlook it. He says that himself, you know. And you know, and no, I also can comes to my mind is how Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was brought up like steeped in Brahminical culture. Our Param Gurudev Srila Sridhar Maharaj, his family, they spoke Sanskrit like in the household, you know. And when Saraswati Thakur requested him to go to London to preach, Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, I don't think I can, because I won't be able to mix with those people, you know. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is accustomed to a very high Vedic standard. And for him to mix with Westerners who are so, you know, loose and low in their behavior in different ways, you know, it would be too difficult for him, you know. So but that's actually due to his upbringing as a Brahmin, you know, that's not reflecting essential, you know, absolute truth, you know? And then our Gurudev, he was more free from that, and Swami Maharaj Prabhupada also. Our Gurudev even more so, because Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, at least like when it came to eating, he would eat separate. He wouldn't eat at the same table with all the Westerners. But our Gurudev took things to another level. He'd sit at the same, he'd sometimes, even we hear from Janardhan Maharaj, he would take food from the plates of the Westerners and eat it. Like, that is unheard of in the Indian Vedic culture. That is an absolutely impossible thing to do. So our Gurudev would do these radical things. One time I heard from Madhusudan Maharaj, our Gurudev, he was about to leave to the airport. He was traveling to the West. He was in Calcutta, and he was served some breakfast. And our Gurudev, he deliberately took the prasad with his left hand, you know, which is absolutely, you know, unheard of. You cannot do that. The left hand is what you wipe your butt with, you know, you don't eat with your left hand, you know. So our Gurudev, he picked up the prasadam with his left hand, and he said, I am guru of the mlechas. You know, mlechas refers to people who are like low and they don't follow any type of standard, you know. So the Westerners, they're called in the screen that you'll see in some of the old texts, are referred to as mlechas. So he said, I'm the guru of the mlechas, and I am going to the mlechas, you know. And then he like ate deliberately with his left hand, you know. So and he made so many jokes about it too, you know. So according, there are different natures sometimes. Srila Sridhar Maharaj showed one nature, Srila Swami Maharaj showed one other, and Gurudev another. And sometimes the nature they're showing, it's more to do with their particular cultural upbringing rather than representing absolute principles. So that's something to bear in mind. And Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, actually, he went to this Scottish church college, and the head of that school, who I remember being told, he like propound like this theory about women being less intelligent and how their brains are smaller and all. Like the head of that school, he propounded that idea. I think he wrote about it, he talked about it. So that was the cultural environment that Swami Maharaj Prabhupada grew up in. And I personally feel that it's really the fault of his editors. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that, but like I've heard of other cases where Srila Swami Maharaj said some really outrageous things, and his editor said, "Oh no, Prabhupada, you can't put that." And he said, "Okay, no problem," and he changed it. So why didn't they say something about some of these other points? It seems like they had their own agenda. They let that go through, and it was appropriate for them to say, "Oh, Prabhupada, actually you can't really say these things, in the current age, But he's writing and thinking this is the mentality of the people, and I'm just speaking to them in their language, But he wasn't attached to those ideas at all, and they don't represent his spiritual nature and quality. Ganga Leela, Radhana Rupini says that advanced modern science knows it's not true. Women's brains are small. Okay, there you go. Ganga Leela, please.
I just remember that I fell over that a lot in the years ago when I would just read some here, some there. So I wasn't really immersed like I am now, and that was something actually I fell over and dismissed some of the lessons because I would read things like, "Oh, women are less intelligent," and I also remember that clearly. It can really kind of keep you out. And and I brought it up too, so I wanted to share what really helped me was it was explained to me that it is actually like a hidden compliment that sometimes intelligence makes it much harder to understand the concept of devotion, and women are naturally devotional, so actually it's for them so much easier. They'll just join anyway. So it was not meant against them at all. It was just a strange way to explain that we're naturally, or not we, but women may naturally be more devotional than men who approach life from intelligence, but in Krishna consciousness we are actually supposed to develop that place of the heart. So yay, he should have just written, he just didn't want to make all these guys angry, because when men get angry, that's much more horrible. They make wars, and we are just gonna take it somewhere else. So it was safer to write it that way. How's that?
And now we're gonna need a defense for the male devotees here.
Actually, Ganga Leela, when I first read those things like that, like you were saying, it was really hard for me. But I had to do some soul searching, because I had to ask myself, is this just my ego? Am I in a situation where I'm being tested by Maya to see, do I really want Krishna, or am I falling into the ego that I'm this body? And I really had to go through some soul searching about that.
Yes, I mean, I think it is kind of like a test for devotees, like, can we get past this?
Right.
And really appreciate what's the substance here. It is a kind of test. And I know people who haven't been able to get past that, actually. But anyway, fortunately, we can say at the moment, we don't have this issue. And Srila Govinda Maharaj, he promoted women so much. He empowered so many female leaders. So we don't need to make an issue. We've seen in other we've seen a bigger picture, you know, so to say.
I think just recently, like a few weeks ago, they had officially have the first ISKCON woman initiating guru, and she initiated a woman as her first initiation. It was just very recently.
That's
So
right. Yes. Yeah. Just a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Dandavat Prabhu, Dandavat. Happy to see you. Well, we're going Dandavat. But we've gone way over time here. Anyone have any burning comment they want to share? Subhasini has her mic off. Is that intentional?
Well, I just wanted to quickly, maybe next time. It is
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just a couple of, I mean, on this point, you know, I also remember like Srila Sridhar Maharaj in his, when he is growing up, you know, as you said, you know, they're all very highly cultured, you know, Brahminical culture, you know, they can speak Sanskrit, they know all the scriptures, even the ladies of the house, you know, his aunt and everybody, they know the scriptures and everything. And his aunt noticed a little, you know, in him, you know, he's not very thinking of the ladies as, you know, highly respectable, something like that. Then she noticed that. And then she quoted some scripture like, you know, don't you know, you have to see the ladies as Lakshmi Devi, you know, like that, something like that, if I remember. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj, when he heard that, and he said, then he had to adjust his consciousness. He has to adjust himself. Something like that, he said. I heard from Goswami Maharaj. Yeah, like that. So.
Yes, I've also heard Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I've heard that on the tape, or maybe it was in a transcript. He told that. Yes, and he took that very much to heart. You know that. And he embraced that vision, you know, to respect women like that.
Yeah.
You know, I recently heard another thing from my mother that she heard from Gurudev, that he said that this is the secret to wealth and prosperity, honoring women, and maybe he also but then I don't remember if it was Gurudev's comment or it was a kind of a following on idea, but countries where they don't give honor to women, you generally see that they're economically doing very badly, you know, where women are very highly repressed and so on. That it's like one
this
of
is
the
quoted somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, you heard this too?
Yeah, there is a quotation I already.
Mm-hmm.
The house that is something like the house that the woman is not honored, it's kind of leads to lack of.
Lakshmi Devi won't come there. Mm-hmm.
Even
okay,
in the
well,
Chaitanya,
we could go on
even in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it mentions that a home is not a house without the wife or something like that. It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, even that. They were saying that what makes a home is the woman. The woman makes the home.
Chintamani, I love your style. You bring up like one of the most complicated discussion points right at the end of the meeting. Everybody's hooked. Like we could just go for the next few hours with this.
Well, I'll just mention one thing too, because I've heard like when the 5th canto was going to come out, and people are like, "Oh, a lot of people are just going to leave after this one," because I guess I haven't read it, but I heard it talks about the cosmos and creation, and it has really nothing to do, with what we understand as the scientific astronomy that we have in the Western world. But I think it's just it is kind of like a test for us. How broad is our vision? How chaste and how faithful are we are to Guru, to this beautiful path that we've come to? Like, how much are we going to adjust? So I think that's like something that we need to consider, is like wherever we hear, whatever we're coming to, the path that we're on is so beautiful that like everything else, we just have to adjust ourselves to.
Very nice, Chinmoy Prabhu. And you know, I'd like to add to that too. You know, Kumkum told me she asked Gurudev once about that, like some of these discrepancies. And you know what Gurudev said? He said, Veda Vyas was not out in the cosmos with one yardstick. You know, like he wasn't there like measuring, and like Srimad Bhagavatam is not meant to be like an astronomical textbook. Like it's a spiritual literature, you know. So why are we going to get stuck on all these things? Like even if it's not like exactly correct on some of these technical mundane points, like is that like, does that matter? You know, that's not what this is about, you know. So that goes back also to some of these things that Srila Swami Maharaj has said, like, okay, maybe some of the things that he said, they're a bit outrageous and, you know, they may not represent the absolute truth, but are we going to get stuck on that? Like, let's go to what he's really about, like at the core, essentially. So, yeah.
Yeah, I heard Gurudev mention that one too. Sukadeva.
Oh, really?
Yasadev. Well, he said that they weren't using a telescope.
Really?
When describing the cosmos, they were not using a telescope.
I didn't know I didn't know he mentioned it like a few times. I never heard that before. And it's so funny because like you can go on this debate for like ages and ages, and then Gurudev just with this little simple comment just kind of like deflates the whole thing. Yeah, it's like also another thing that comes to mind is the flat earth thing, you know, like people can go on about the flat earth thing, round earth, but it's just like either way, you know, it doesn't matter. And if Krishna wanted, he could make it one way or the other. Maybe sometimes he makes it a spirit, other times he makes it flat, like he's the ultimate hypnotist, right? You know, and ultimately it doesn't matter. You know?
Gurudev was responding to a question either about that or it was about the moon landing. He was responding to that question. You know, they are not using a telescope. They're describing it.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai, Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai, all the assembled devotees and seer seekers ki Jai, Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari.